All right, welcome to the Ravit Show. We are here at Gartner. It's day 2, and look who I have with me, Salma. Welcome to
Hi.
the Ravit Show
Thank you.
again.
Welcome back. Yes, thank you.
I'm loving all the growth by Sifflet, so excited to chat
Thank
with
you
you
so
today.
much.
I'm kind of wanting to obviously learn a lot of things. You've been talking to a lot of enterprise leaders, customers, prospects.
Yeah.
What have you been hearing? What's the approach that Sifflet has for data observability? I'm kind of curious now because obviously over the years you all have evolved a lot.
Yeah.
And for better, I've been hearing a lot of enterprise leaders talking about you all. So
Yeah,
excited to
absolutely.
know about that.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So Sifflet's approach to data observability still is, the same.
Yep.
In terms of we don't really think that data reliability, whether it's for analytics or AI, should be just the problem of the data engineer. And it shouldn't be, or it's not just a technical problem.
Yep.
So essentially the way we look at it is we look at data in both a technical, so schema, metadata, tables, logs, etc., but also, and more importantly, a business and a functional context, right?
Yep.
And we bring that into the monitoring to make it even more intuitive and even more directly related to a business use case, which ultimately is what everyone wants to do when it comes to improving the data maturity.
I love it because you mentioned about a very important point, that is it's not only just for the data engineers.
No, absolutely not.
It is something, obviously it goes much more into the game as well. And
Absolutely.
it's no more just a nice to have that the enterprise leaders are saying that, oh, data observability, no more just nice to have it.
Yeah.
It's a must, right? What do you think about that?
Definitely. I mean, I feel like we've witnessed over the years a great, accelerated maturity of the space in general, and I think, the AI revolution is also a lot to thank for that.
Yes.
But what's interesting is that we are not at a stage where enterprises know that data is a transactional product, right?
Yeah.
And so, the tolerance for error and things not being ready and things being late and messy and is getting smaller and smaller. And so that kind of puts data observability more at the forefront or
Yeah.
more top of mind
Exactly.
for these leaders, and it's been absolutely wonderful to witness.
Those are fantastic insights, Salma, for sure. But I'm also kind of curious to know, why do you think every business needs data observability now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As I said earlier, I feel like we're getting to a place where now enterprise leaders want to treat data as a transactional product,
Yep.
right? They have no choice, to be honest, right? Especially with the rise of AI and increasing expectations around governance, reliability in a variety of contexts. And so I think the question of whether I need data observability is no longer the question to ask here. It's more about what form of data observability do I need,
Very
and
important.
how can I make sure that I take that into account and that I take my organization's data maturity into account when I decide to bring in a framework, right? We get into hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations with customers and prospects all over the world, and the number one, question I get asked is, okay, like this is, how do I make sure your product is great, but how do I make sure that there is a real chain reaction that's created
Which is very
internally?
important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you can have your own definition and expectation of what data observability should deliver, but ultimately it's very important to also be very aware of the real use cases and the real expectation from a business perspective before you embark on a journey of getting a data observability solution. Whether you end up doing your own solution or getting a data observability platform like Sifflet, you really have to sit down and ask yourself the questions and involve the business in the conversation, because data is a transactional product now.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point that you've kind of mentioned, is it's not about, an option anymore. Where
Yeah,
you're
no,
kind
it
of
really
thinking
isn't.
about that, oh, do you need to have data observability? It is a must-have product in the game. It depends, you want to build it on your own or have products like Sifflet come into the game.
Exactly.
But though I also kind of think, like, when I kind of think, I talk to enterprise leaders, they kind of feel that, oh, building it in-house is a big task. We would rather
Oh,
go
huge.
out, right? Because we would rather go out and have products which are really doing well in this space and which can actually support our use case.
Oh, huge, absolutely, and also like the continuity of the innovation and the covering of the variety of the use cases and the real expertise that you get when working with a vendor. That's something that's not easy to replicate. But no, that makes sense. And actually, I have a very concrete example or anecdote for you about the business critical aspect of data observability. Last year, in 90% of the customers we acquired or we started working with, our solution was qualified as business critical in the legal contract. And so that speaks to how the whole concept of data being treated as a product is now materializing, and with that, the need for observability, governance, and security, and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I'm kind of also curious to know a little about, the reasons for your, the data engineers can't own data quality. What are your thoughts around that?
Okay. Okay, so I'm not saying they shouldn't own or they can't own data quality. I'm just saying that they own a portion of it, right? And I think it's very important to keep in mind, as I said in the beginning, that data now is not just a technical, object, right? It's not just about looking at the metadata and the logs and the lineage and, and the jobs and the pipelines. It's about knowing, especially in the explosion of the sizes of data platforms, broadly speaking, it's about knowing how is that data related to a business process? And why is this data asset more important than that other data assets, right? And in a world where every company has, a bajillion of data tools, and since we are at the Gartner Summit, everyone has the Magic Quadrant as their data stack. It becomes harder and harder to identify what data is for and also prioritize when it comes to data quality and monitoring. And so if you rely strictly on that technical knowledge that's going to be accessible by the data engineer and by broader technical users, then you're missing out on a lot of intel from the business that makes the whole reliability of data as an exercise even more important and even more meaningful, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, I think I love
and
those.
Makes the ROIs a lot better in terms of building up and adopting a data observability framework.
I think that is one of the most important things where enterprise also leaders kind of also look at it, the data engineers kind of look at it, so it's fantastic. One more
So they're not outside of the loop at all, they're in the loop, but but it's, there's more context that gets brought.
No, that's good clarification there. So thanks for that, Salma. I'm kind of also wanting to know a little about the future. How do you I'm not going to ask about 2 to 3 years anymore. It's going to be more like 3 to 6 months. What do you think? What's coming up next? How will this space evolve? I know it's not going to evolve massively, but then it always does, right? There's always newer things that come into the game. There are newer use cases that also are explored. And for like Sifflet, I've kind of seen you all having different logos, different industries that you all cater to. So what do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I think actually 3 to 6 months is a very short time window. Because especially in software, like you kind of should be able to anticipate within like 3 to 6 months how is your product delivery going to look like, your interactions with customers and prospects and things like that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to answer
a little
longer
further
than that. So maybe 18 months to 3 years.
Makes sense.
So I think obviously we have to talk about AI and how it's, changing not only the way we, work with data, but also the way the solutions we use for data are shaped. At Sifflet, we have this concept, or we divide it into 2 concepts, which is AI for Sifflet and Sifflet for AI. So AI for Sifflet is everything that's around our AI agent that essentially is like an assistant in the monitoring, especially when, for the case of Sifflet, when the solution is also intended to be used by less technical users, it's very important that you bring a very high level of automation and intelligence, and AI, helps to do that. Among a lot of other things that the AI agent at Sifflet does. And there is Sifflet for AI, which is, quite frankly, a really exciting part or part of our journey that we're going to embark on, which is, figuring out how we can take the concepts that we have in observability for, data and analytics, for structured and semi-structured data, etc., and translating that into AI projects. Whether we're talking analytical AI, which in a way is a use cases we already cover,
Love it.
but
Yeah.
also to generative AI use cases. So that's something you're gonna have to stay following Sifflet for more details.
We are watching closely for sure, and you'll always do the best in this space. So we're looking forward to learning more. One more quick question for you: if folks want to keep learning more, where can they actually follow you all? Where can I know you're quite active on social as well? You kind of try and share, obviously, your perspective, what's happening in this space as well. Where can they follow you? Where can they follow all the news from Sifflet?
Yeah, they can follow me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
They can follow Sifflet's LinkedIn. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm
Nice.
at Salma Bakouk everywhere.
Yeah.
They can also send me an email on my Sifflet email. I don't know if I can mention my email directly, but I'm sure it's easy to find.
Yes, no, 100%. Salma, again, always such a pleasure chatting with you on the Ravit
Yeah,
Show.
likewise.
All the great insights that you share, and I've always told you, you are, killing it in this space.
That's very kind.
So
Thank you.
we are definitely looking forward to learning more and keeping the conversation continued. Right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.